Welcome to the American Made and Paid Show, the home of free speech and independent thought.
The big story is freedom of speech is really in trouble. The far left knows that at any time they can call for a sponsor boycott of anyone they despise.
It is right here, right now, where you'll get your weekly dose of unfiltered truth.
It's non-negotiable. Pre-existing conditions will be protected. This president has said this as a candidate.
Insight.
Very few people I know could have handled it. We can never, ever let this happen to another president again.
And information that challenges the American way of life.
Welcome, everybody, to the American Made and Paid Show. Zach here, back with Professor Dreg. Hope you guys are all doing well. Yeah, there's a couple of things I wanted to... Hey, you be dropping stuff. There's a couple of things I wanted to jump into today and kind of get a little bit of an idea. And I'm still, out in Dallas, Texas, for those of you who are curious and want to know where I'm at. I think if you keep doing that, you're going to drop it and hit your microphone, which you already did. So, but yeah, what I wanted to talk about was the whole Black Revolt TV Summit, which I don't know if some of you guys saw that on the internet. It's just a big sort of cohort of people: Killer Mike, T.I., Candace Owens, some guy who kind of looks white, but I guess is black also. And they're all talking a little bit about what are the biggest issues, facing Black America. Tamika Mallory, Katrina Pearson. Tamika is the Black Lives Matter lady. And I will say this, I think that the typical talking points that you're going to hear from Candace Owens and Katrina Pearson are going to be pretty much uniform, right? It's just like Trump's not given a chance. He's done a lot to help the Black community. We think illegal immigration is the big thing that's facing our country. But, the thing is, why isn't there still also an emphasis on the education, right? The why, like how did it come to this way and how do people get out of it? I know there's not really a lot of room to talk because there's a lot of progressivism. You get shut down before you can talk about your views. But from what you've seen, I mean, what do you feel like in your aspect, right? Speaking from the streets, from the Black community, aside from illegal immigration and fatherless homes, what is the one thing that Black Americans need? I mean, if we want to talk about it, to sort of, what's the big thing? I mean,
no, seriously,
I wanted to hear
put me on there.
The abolishment of the welfare state. I mean, I don't think I heard. I mean, they might have mentioned that, but I didn't hear it sort of in the initial thing. It just became a bit of an argument after a bit. But
well, okay, so I'll be, I'll say I didn't see it until just right now. I don't know how many minutes I listened to it, like maybe 2 minutes. But I already know this whole thing is just full of malarkey. It's just, man, like they would never put a guy like me on. They would never do it. And I'll tell you why, because obviously this is a progressive Revolt TV or whatever this is called. Yeah, yep. Revolt TV. They're just a bunch of progressives. So obviously they put on conservatives who aren't conservatives. They're just a bunch of chinos and they're just pretending. So right away, the first thing I noticed and which makes it full of crap is the notion of a black agenda.
That's like what I'm saying. Yeah, it's the whole identity politics thing all over again. So go ahead.
Well, but it goes beyond identity politics. It goes into this thing of accepting racism as an acceptable way of doing business or what's that called? Or allowing, because this is what I've always known about progressive ideology. Progressive ideology will always be for the advancement of white people. That's what it was invented for. What's his name? Charles Darwin. He writes that in his books, The Origin of Man and something else.
And that's what I want.
Man.
Yeah,
hold on.
Yep.
Anyway, sorry about that. So anyway.
Oh gosh.
Yeah, no, don't worry. It's Counselor Gautzer. Anyway, so long story short, because it's progressive ideology, these guys, and you really got to, like, the listeners really have to understand this. Progressive ideology stems from the work of Charles Darwin, whose work simply was made to disprove that God existed.
Right.
That's why, like, his theory of evolution literally is, I don't want to say blasphemy, but it's just his way of saying that there's no God. And that's why he did what he did. So whenever you are an atheist like Charles Darwin and you're trying to invent your own religion, which he did, who's going to be the gods of his religion? Well, according to him, it's the Aryans.
Right.
Because they're the supreme beings of the race, and they should control everything because, in theory, they're the most advanced, they're the most intelligent out of all species. And
according to him.
Yeah, according to him. But see, the sad thing, every progressive and a lot of scientists actually agreed with what he was saying. So, and that's what makes this so dangerous, is to this day, people still think he's correct. People still think that how cavemen were or whatever, that we all come from monkeys or fish and all this other crazy stuff. You know?
Yeah, no, of course.
I laugh at it because it's just straight silly. Like, where in the world do they think that we come from fish or some creatures walking out of the waters?
Well, so not aside from that, I mean, I just think that, unfortunately, when there is a push for a pro-black agenda, right? I think that let's focus on that.
Well, no. So let me finish. Let me finish. I'm sorry.
Okay.
I should have gone up because I was laughing too much about the whole God thing. But anyway, but the thing is like this. So when you're progressive, and just like blacks, they are doing their best to emulate whatever Charles Darwin was saying. So that whole premise of what they're talking about, the black agenda, it's flawed, because if you do that, then you accept that you come from monkeys. And therefore, what you saw was a big-ass monkey show on Revolt TV. It's the truth. They're acting like monkeys, trying to show everybody that they're not monkeys. And that is what happened there. They weren't talking about the issues at all. Why do I say that? Because not one of them had a solution. Not one. You know, like this show, I hope we talk about issues, but we have, honest to God, solutions. I'm not kidding you. When the time comes when people start asking us questions, or we can go back and forth, we'll have real solutions that will work for everybody's life. Right. I guarantee. And it doesn't matter if you're black, Asian, Chinese, Korean, from Nigeria. It doesn't matter where you're from. It will work for you. And it's not just because we're saying it. It's already been proven over thousands of years. The science backs what that book says. It just does. So on that note, none of these guys said anything. Candace Owens said this, I didn't hear the whole thing, but what I did hear, like the good minute of it, she was saying the same, talking points that, blacks can't pass the literacy test. They can't pass the basic math test in Baltimore. We're stagnating in the birth rate. And, but anyway, so, and
well, the thing is, you don't see her going into black communities very often. A common criticism that I want to bring this up is this is a pro-black agenda talk, right? But this girl, it's like, and here's the thing about what I would say a lot of black people believe, that you can't really be pro-black and then like marry a white guy, because she married a British aristocrat. That's the thing. Like a week ago, it's like a white.
But all that's all bull. That's all BS.
Yeah.
Because again, and I don't want to but this is the thing. Like, I don't want to say for now on, but from this, since recently, I'm literally basing everything I know on what I believe Jesus would be like. What would Jesus do?
Yeah.
Or what would Jesus Like,
Well,
what was his
what I'm
intention?
saying is that it's all wrong. Is like I don't think that people need to focus so much on race. That's what I'm talking about. Because every time
Yeah,
you get a
no, but
bunch of,
that's
here's the
what they
thing. I'm
want
just gonna
you
be
to.
honest. Yeah, every time you get a bunch of black people together, they're just gonna complain about what the white man's doing, white supremacy, even though they should know that if they knew their history, that it just what you're advocating for with progressivism is the furtherment of that. And you really think it's supposed to be something that's blatant? Like, here's the deal. It's it's designed in a way to keep you dumb. And you being dumb is playing right into their hands. So by screaming at the top of the roofs, like, we need the white man bad, we got to do this, as opposed to going out and building something, right, and understanding it truly, you're actually doing yourself a greater disservice.
Yeah, no, exactly. See, but here's the point. These guys don't know it because they have no idea what progressive ideology is. Seriously. And I think we said this before, but it's
Hmm.
worth mentioning again after this Black Summit. The reason why blacks are at the bottom is because they threw away the Bible. They threw it away.
Yeah.
They were given the keys and then they threw it away. And now they're like, we're happy in this. And here's the thing. Think about this. Everybody on that panel, including Candace Owens, are just celebrity whores. That's all they are. All they do is pander, and all they want is, they want to be known for being famous for whatever it is. But they don't offer anything to society. They don't. They have no solutions. And that's exactly what the progressive agenda is. So
Hmm.
when they have this black agenda thing, it is just an offshoot of what Woodrow Wilson envisioned way back in the days in the late 1800s. And but think about this. What Candace Owens was saying was correct. Why? But it's not, halfway correct. The black birth rate actually is out is slower,
Hmm.
is smaller than the death rate. So she should have got into that. Why is the death rate higher than the birth rate for blacks in this country? Well, she doesn't want to go there. Why? Because she doesn't know. She won't say it.
Well,
She
she's
doesn't
talked
say
about
things
Planned
like,
Parenthood and that type of thing, right? But people don't talk about the well, that's the thing, is that people will get to a point where they're like, it's because of Planned Parenthood. Planned Parenthood's a racist organization. But why was Planned Parenthood put there in the first place? Because of the embrace of Darwinism, because of a departure from God. That's the thing, is like, they'll take it to Planned Parenthood, and she might even say that, but she won't go into the why that is. Why?
well,
Why
see,
are
but
we
think
taught
about
not to
this.
value life anymore?
Well, because it's the death culture. That's the whole point. She doesn't want to address it. She can address it. Why? Because you have a guy who's dominating the panel called Killer Mike. Either she's afraid of that big fat dude, or because that dude looks diabetic. I mean, he doesn't even look like a healthy fat dude. You know what I mean? Like, I'm thinking, oh my God, for
Hmm.
being fat. I mean, because I know a lot of fat dudes, but they got big upper bodies, and like their midsection is, still smaller than their shoulders and upper body. But this dude had a small upper body and just big and fat gut, big hips and thighs. I'm thinking, my God, you're like a woman. But on that note, but his name is Killer. But she should have said something. And it's like, look, we embrace the death culture. We're killing our babies. And then she should have broke out the stat that 55% of all abortions are done by black girls. And
Hmm.
then she should have said, yeah, and then you guys, Killer Mike, you make money off of death culture, off of off of all you celebrate all of this killing that blacks do to each other in Baltimore, Chicago, Oakland, wherever, Stockton.
Right.
You know what I mean? But she didn't do that. Or I mean, I don't know if she did it. I doubt she did it because just from that 30 seconds or a minute that I heard, I know she wasn't gonna do that. And that's the thing. You got to get people on there that have to speak the truth. It's like, in the old days, all these hip hop artists and rock and roll dudes, Chuck Berry, whoever, they weren't singing about death and celebrating death and make believe death like all these, you know, wannabe rappers do. They don't know what it's like. No one's ever had a gun to their head or whatever, just working a regular job.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? None
Yeah.
of them people experience that. Because if you could survive stuff like that, I guarantee you don't want to be singing about it. Because, you know, you got better things to do than coming up with, oh, what rhymes with trigger? Oh, we all know what that one.
Yeah.
How hard is it to do? But it's the truth. All of these people don't get it. And the thing is like this, because I know, because being an atheist, a former atheist, I know the argument. It's people believe that Christianity is a cop-out, it's a sellout. It's an easy answer. And I was like, no, but actually it's not an easy answer. It's very complicated. You know, to be a Christian and use Christian solutions for like all the problems on the streets, in the school system and the court system, it's a very difficult thing to do because you're dealing with two things that are hard to always focus on. One, that God really has no control over this because it's, you know, the carnal mind. And two, we're dealing with a whole bunch of people who do not love themselves. And that's a hard thing to do, because if you believe that you're at the bottom, which many progressives believe, because look, if you're a progressive and you're not an Aryan, you know, which is basically, you know, like any Asian person, any Native person, any Black person, they'll, you know, they're never going to be Aryan. But think about it. We, as non-Aryans, probably suffer the most from all this crap because, you know, what do we want to do? Not we, but outside of, you know, outside of the earshot of everybody listening to us, most Asians and Blacks, they want to be accepted by white culture.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like they want to be celebrated by Hollywood or get a Grammy or something. And it's not, and that's a mountain you're never going to reach. Because I remember you said something about, and I never really thought of it that way, but dudes with Asian fetishes, right? So them white dudes really do think they're better than Asian guys. And that's why they always, you know, because, you know, for me, I was thinking, that's just white dudes trying to hide, you know, they're in the closet. You know what I mean? But a better answer, because I still think a lot of those Asian, those Asian females who date white dudes and stuff like those, most of those white dudes are closet gays. But
what?
Yeah, I really think that. I think a lot of those dudes are just in the closet. And
okay.
And no, well, because we talked about this before. I think we talked about this before, but a lot of Asian girls, and this is why, like, and this is, I know this sounds crazy, but I never really dated Asians, like, you know, like, because they didn't have, like, most Asians are skinny. So, you know what I mean? And when you're skinny, that means you don't have, you know, no TNA. So a lot of white dudes were going for that. Why? Because that's like dating a guy, but you don't have to admit that you're gay or something weird, you know? Because, like, there's something wrong with fetishes. It's just, you know, and I just always, I don't care what the fetish is. It's just a way of not being gay. Because, you know, it's just whatever. So anyway, but when you broke it down to how, like, white dudes think that they're superior to Asian men, and that's why they do that, that makes sense too, because, you know, you believe in progressive ideology, so Aryans are better than everybody else. So they do believe they're better than everybody else. That's the whole premise of progressive ideology. But yeah, so I never broken it down like the way you did, but I still believe it's this really crazy thing about, you know, trying to hide they're gay, because a lot of these Asian chicks, not so much in America, because in America, you know, they're eating American food and they're all fat like everybody else, which you're you, but it's the truth. Like, I'm from here, I'm used to fat chicks. I'm not saying the counselor's fat,
but let's go back to the whole pro-black agenda, right? So what are some of the things?
Well, see, but here's the thing: the pro-black agenda is an anti-Christian, demonic type of agenda, and that's what it is. And you know, and then people are probably thinking, "Oh my God, not more of this Christian stuff." But the thing is, we could honestly break it down to that.
Mm-hmm.
How come these guys don't have a solution for education? Seriously, we have, and we spoke about this before. We've said this many, many times. If you want to correct all of the ills of the ghetto schools, all you have to do is offer a payroll tax cut for all of tech, STEM type of businesses to go into these ghetto schools and teach these kids 8 hours a day. Just 1 day a week. If companies like Apple or Google or Intel or even Amazon, because I'm pretty sure they got smart dudes working at Amazon, they go in there, they go into the elementary schools, they teach math for an hour, you know, and then like first period they teach math, second period they teach math. You have all of these kids learning something from all of these things without any cost to the school districts. And
well, that's what I've been saying, is that why wasn't this talked about among a lot of them? They always say, we got to have better black leaders. We got to have, but people are
demonly possessed. They honestly believe this. Look, people have to realize that. And this is what I'm saying. We have to honestly fight these people with the truth. First, we got to identify who these people are. What is a progressive? A progressive is an evil person. It's just like abortion. What's abortion? Abortion is a made-up word to hide the fact that you're killing a baby.
Right.
That's what it is. And what's a progressive? It is a code word of saying, I worship the devil. I've never seen I have seen a satanic Bible. I never read one. But remember PP Girl? She was a Satanist. Some chick I met when I was a kid. And but we used to call it but she used to be a Satanist. And she had a Satan Bible. So those things really do exist. I've seen one. So I'm imagining that in the Satan's Bible thing, that's what progressives worship. But instead of walking around with their Satan Bible thing that they got, they just do it, they memorize it. And then they say it the way this guy Killer Mike was talking or T.I. was speaking. That's just straight demonic speaking. But when we come up with our solution, it is honest to God Christian based. Why? Because, we're teaching people how to fish. We are teaching people to be tolerant of those who are at the bottom. Because a lot of these people from STEM, they've never grown up in the ghetto. They've grown up with 2-parent systems and stuff like that. But the Christian way is to, if you're on the top, like the way Jesus was, he was on the top. He was always on the streets. He was always, teaching to these people. He was healing people. He was doing all these things to people who never got access to, real doctors and all this other stuff.
And that's what I wanted to hear was I heard a lot of like, we got to help the black community out. We got to do this. But, why don't we talk about the things that you can control? Because when they say we got to do this, we got to do this, the real solution here is cut the welfare state, like have people talk about more as to why, because they're always like, well, you're not a victim. You just got to go back to work. You got to do this type of stuff. And I'm like, okay, that's what you're advocating for. So what's the solution here? Cut the welfare state, re-educate people, get people off of welfare, stop incentivizing people to have kids out of wedlock. And that solves 3 out of your 5 major core problems. That's it.
Well, I'm telling you now, but see, the thing is, but how do you do that? So how do you re-educate the kids? The first one is by letting these people get a tax break for doing so. The government has to do this because what is the incentive? And the Bible is not enough to do it because there's a lot of Christians out there, but they're not going to do it because, like I said before, Christianity is extremely complicated because you're dealing in a system where a good majority of people, like I would say 60% of all people, do not like themselves. So if you do not like yourself, how can you be helpful to somebody else? Well, a shortcut would be tax breaks. So if your boss is telling you to do it, well, do it. And that's the thing. We start forcing people. We have to create a system. And which is why you have to understand that Christianity, and I hate to say this, but for lack of a better term, it is multi-level marketing. That's what it is. And as Christian people, we depend on other Christians to spread the word to other people, and then it spreads and spreads and spreads like multi-level marketing.
That's how it works. We've talked about how.
And yeah, we got to find a better term than multi-level marketing, but I honestly don't know how else to describe it. But it works. That's how it's done. So with that in mind, that multi-level marketing has to be applied to education. It has to be applied to economics and like on how Black people are going to succeed. So, and I say this, because I know a lot of people aren't going to, they hate this, but you have to say it. They have to be paid reparations. Blacks need reparations.
Yeah, you still believe in the reparations thing. I don't know how I feel about that.
Without a doubt.
But reparations without welfare and all that type of stuff.
Well, see, because the thing is like this, welfare was deliberately made for the destruction of Blacks. I mean, that's just what it was. I mean, in 1913, they invented all that stuff, the IRS. They did all of these things against Black people, and but here's the thing that's really messed up. They took away the rights for Blacks to pass on their wealth that they got in the 1800s. They did. And they gave those opportunities away to other immigrants, like,
Italians and all that. Yeah.
Not just Italians, but we're talking in the 1900s. So in the 1800s, they gave it to the Italians.
Right.
So they gave it to the Italians and other whites, immigrants and stuff like that. But in like after MLK, they gave it to the Vietnamese, they gave it to the Japanese, because like the Japanese got 25 grand reparations for being an internment.
That's true. Yeah, other races got reparations.
Yeah, well, hell, even the Italians got reparations. So, but the thing is like this, and they have always had that ability to pass on wealth, and the only Blacks, I mean, you hate to say this, but like the only Blacks who can pass on wealth are the ones that got their wealth from the slave owners. Like, the plantations, a lot of plantation owners literally gave their plantations to the Blacks who lived there. And I'm not kidding, like the Willits, since you're in Texas, you should look up the Willits plantation, owned by Blacks, but the dude was white. And all the Willises are they're all Black, but they took the slave owner's name and the plantation name. And I know one of those dudes. He does my construction. But anyway,
yeah.
But that's the thing. For most Blacks, that was taken away from them through the IRS. And they did that to that chick, Sarah Breedlove, the first, self-made female millionaire in this country. They did it to almost all Blacks. That's just what they did. So, like I said before, I believe $250,000 bucks for every Black person, one-time payment, doesn't matter. Maybe who qualifies, right? So basically, I would say, I don't know, like 25% Black. If you're 25% Black, you should get it. And then cut the welfare system. Everything is gone. No more Medi-Cal, no more Medicaid, no more Medi-Cal, no more food stamps, no more anything. It is not the government's job to provide a social net. That's not their job. It is not in the Constitution. It is not a right. There is no right to food. There is no right to health care. It is not a right. It's just not. God did not make this a right. Should we feed the poor? Yeah, of course. But that's the church's job. That's not the government's job. You know what I mean? That's up for the individual. That is not for the government to do. The government is specifically done for, like, you know, to regulate trade, to regulate, you know, wars and things like that, you know, money, to unify money or whatever, you know, that's still a part of trade, and the justice system. And that's what the government's for. All this other stuff, like, oh, we got to have clean air, that's not the government's job. It really isn't. And the thing is, the question becomes, well, what would we do?
Right.
If do we get rid of the EPA? Do we get rid of the California Air Resources Board? And I say, yeah, because here's the thing. That's what the court system is for. If we can prove that dirty air is killing us and this corporation is doing it, then we should sue that corporation. We shouldn't let the government regulate this for us. That is why we have a court system. Right. You know, but all of these dudes, all what these guys are doing, the government is making it harder for people to sue companies that get you sick or do this or do that, because,
well, you got to jump through a lot of hoops. You got to, you know.
No, but think about this. The government allows these corporations to kill us without us knowing. Like, who knew that talcum powder was
like for baby powder?
Yeah. Well, I knew. I never used baby powder in my life because I kept telling everybody, I said, are you fucking kidding me? I said, you're going to put that stuff because you think you got sweaty balls or it's going to prevent a diaper rash on a kid? I said, that's a bunch of crap. Don't do that. And, but, you know, oh, well, the government says it's FDA approved. I said, the government don't know. How do they know? You know what I mean? It's not natural. If, you know, and this is me as an atheist saying that. And I always believe if it's not natural, do not use it. You know, is deodorant bad for you? Well, of course. Why? Because it has aluminum. And we spoke about this. If you ever use, I mean, I know people aren't going to do this, but you guys should do this just because you guys got to learn about chemistry and physics and things like this. You melt aluminum, get a whole bunch of aluminum cans, melt it, and then just, I know it's like, it's a black thing. You guys all love watermelon, but I'm not kidding you. Put a hole in a watermelon because it has a lot of seeds. Pour the aluminum in there, and the aluminum will just go straight, and like just let it sit for a while. Cut that watermelon open. Just open it up. Open up the watermelon. You will see that aluminum attacks the seeds. It attacks the nervous system of the watermelon. The flesh is okay. You could actually eat the flesh, but the seeds are no longer good. It does the same exact thing in our body. So that those little traces of aluminum, it will attack the nervous system. It will sit in your brain like the way it sits in the watermelon's brain. It just does. That's what aluminum does. And that's why, you know, I don't use deodorant. Why? Because it's not natural. We're supposed to be stinky, but not super stinky like them Indians. You take a bath, you wash your armpits, and, you know, you just wash it a few times a day if you have to. Yeah, that's just what you do. But you don't put talcum powder or aluminum, because guess what? When they finally figure out that aluminum, aluminum-based deodorants and antiperspirants are killing you, giving you Alzheimer's and things like that, guess what? You know, then they're going to be suing and saying all these things and make this company pay this and that. But you know what? It's the government's fault because they knew they allowed it to happen. It's not their job. So, you know, but if you have a strong understanding of, you know, natural law and how things work, then you just know it's like, look, we sweat for a reason. You know, I have ideas why, but we honestly don't know until the day we get a chance to ask us, hey, why do we sweat? You know, why do we, you know, expel waste through our skin? You know what I mean? But it's the truth. Like 30% of our waste is excreted through our skin. Why? I don't know. I mean, but it helps us live, but, you know, that's just a weird way of doing it. You know, I think, but I don't know. I mean, that's a reason for God. You know, why do we got hair? Why do we have teeth? I mean, I know the functions, but why did he make us the way he made us? And we'll never know until we go to heaven. This is how it works. We'll never know. I don't care what anybody says. We will never know. How come we're not octopuses? I don't know. But you know what I mean? It's for whatever reasons, we are made this way. And I guess it's because that's his image, but still, why? You know what I mean? Like, there's so many questions. But on that note, we'll never know. So, but anyway, but going back to the black thing and everything else, we have been taught and trained not to accept anything from the Bible. It's just how it is. As long as progressives are in charge, we will never accept the truth, and we will never accept true science. We will never accept true math. We just won't, because everything we learned is bastardized.
Mm-hmm.
Everything. Every single aspect of our lives without God in it is bastardized, and we're always going to get ourselves sick. Because yesterday we were talking about the whole sex thing. Not one of these guys in the black conference said, hey, stop having sex and just marry a woman. Stop having kids out of wedlock and, settle down. Nobody said that. And that's the biggest thing killing blacks. Outside of blacks killing themselves and outside of abortions, the number 3 killer in the black community are STDs. Think about that. If you're going to, bang a black chick, there's a good chance you're going to get an STD. That's fact. That's medical fact. Nobody talked about that. Why don't they talk about that? Think about that. How come nobody talked about the real things that are killing the black community? Number 1 killer is abortion. Number 2 killer is black on black crime. Number 3 is dirty sex. They didn't say anything about that, but that's a real thing, even beyond education. The first thing we got to do is control our penises. That's what we got to do, because look at these fools, all these rappers. Yeah, I got a gun. I'm going to kill this dude and then go down to the strip club and make it rain. You know what I mean? But even that term, make it rain, is a bastardization of, like they believe they're gods. I'm making it rain. No, God makes rain, and you guys are idiots throwing away money on a chick who will never like you. Killer Mike. No, like, you got to watch it. If you look at Killer Mike and see how fat and disgusting that dude is, you'll see what I'm talking about. It's a crazy belief system. It's a crazy belief system, but it is true. Progressive ideology, that's what it is. The number one, and this is the thing, what are our solutions? We have solutions for, stopping abortions. We have solutions for, black on black violence. We really do. It's not, doesn't come from me. It comes from the Bible. And we have solutions for, dirty black sex. And those are the 3 major killers. And then the 4th killer would be, obviously lack of opportunities from being uneducated. So, those are the things. I mean, but nobody's ever going to talk about it. Not one person brought that up in the, what's that called? That Black Agenda Summit. And because of that, look at the troubles we have. So progressive ideology teaches people how to be their own gods. Is Killer Mike a god? In his mind, he is. In his mind, Killer Mike is a god.
Right.
Candace Owens believes she is a god. But not one of these people have any solutions. And that's why you have to give it up to God and say, look, you know what? I don't have solutions. Don't come from me. It comes from the Bible.
That's why when we go back to the 12-step, the solution. Okay, so here's a perfect analogy, because I let you talk about. I wanted to hear your thoughts, but here's my thoughts. Right?
Well, I thought you were a god. I was riffing because I thought you were a god.
No. I was listening the whole time, but I was also processing something. I want to take it back to one thing that we talked about, which was the 12-step process. Right?
Yeah.
Why is it so effective? Because the first sign of it is admitting that you can't do it yourself. You can't solve the problem yourself. You're not leaving it up to willpower. But isn't it funny how that's how human nature works? It's not about adding more, but reducing. And in the process of doing so, you actually find solutions that way, because our solutions, they may seem complicated in the beginning, but they're actually really, really simple. They're really similar. You know what I mean? It's like, it kind of just comes down to take away the welfare state, take away some of these things, take away these governmental agencies. Do we really need them, right, in order to prosper? We don't. And people, because of their nature, will be able to figure it out. See, the thing is a lot of these people also are in the position they're in because they feel like people can't help themselves, right? But the reality is you got to stop incentivizing people to do things a certain way. And I think that that's the main thing. That's what I wanted to chime in on. Part of the recovery process is also a degree of humility. And it's the same thing with solutions. So
No, exactly. No, but you're right. I believe you're correct. But I would like to add this. You want to know who are the last group in this country who are examples of what solutions look like? That's the Asians. You know, like the Asian people, whether they're from India or whether they're from China or Korea, don't matter. They're the last people to have intact families who aren't over sexualized. But progressives are doing their best to over sexualize these people. You know, that's the thing is, and when they fall into the over sexualization trap of progressives, the Asians are going to be done. just like whites, just like the Hispanics or blacks. Because I'm telling you, once you buy into that crap of being over sexualized, it's going to lead to violence. It's going to lead to death culture, because that's just what it is. Over sex or being all sexed up, it's just and the destruction of the family, because, like, you know, guys will be guys. But when the guys throw away their family, that's it. They're done. Like, seriously, because that's like the only point of living. Like, let's pretend there's no God. If there's no God, fine, there's no God. But science teaches us the only purpose of a man is to have a family, is to father kids. And they got to take care of them kids. That's their job.
To work and to father kids too. That's the main thing.
Yeah, that's the only function of a man. You don't have to do much other than provide for that family. You know what I mean? You don't even have to cook or clean. I'm not saying that's a woman's job, but I'm just saying, you know, most guys, they don't have to do that, because women do that kind of stuff just naturally. Women hate clutter. Women hate, you know, they're organizers. They like to organize things or whatever, blah, 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 blah. That's just what happens. You know, part of that hunter-gatherer type of thing, females tend to be gatherers. Gatherers tend to organize. And hunters are just, you know, providers. Anyway, so if Asians ever stop being, you know, like a patriarch to their family, they're done as a culture, or as a group of people. And that's how the progressives want it. They want it the way it is out in Europe or wherever, because, you know, look at Europe. Pick any European country, and, you know, it's just a glorified third world country. You go to Germany, glorified third world country. It's not like the United States. Like in the US, you literally can do anything you want, and it doesn't matter who you are. Any person in the States can accomplish anything, which is pretty much the motto of, like, Bible. You believe in God and anything's possible. And that actually only happens in the US. But anywhere in Europe, I don't care, France, Sweden, you don't have those opportunities. You can't. You can never outdo whatever they tell you to do in Germany. The government is the ultimate power that gives you your rights. Your rights stem from the German government, and because of that, they're limited. But like I said before, they're just a glorified third world country. Germany, England, France, all of those countries, they're not that great. You could never do great things there. You know, but on that note, you know, because I know our hour's coming up, but
yeah. But back to the Black agenda. So the solution is to bring what's the final sort of tie down, because we went through a lot of different.
Because the thing is, like, and this is going to sound like a cop out to a lot of atheists and scientists or whoever, but the only solution is through God. It is. It's just through the Bible. But on that note, I would love to be on that stage, and I'll call everybody out, and I'll come up with solutions. I'll say, what is wrong with my solution? How can my solution not work? Oh, I know it. Without a doubt, you implement my plans, it will work. And they're not really my plans. These are the biblical plans. This is stuff that Jesus did himself, and it worked then, it'll work now. How do I know? Because people are greedy. And people are prideful, they're lustful or whatever. So they will do what they do initially because of those driving factors. But ultimately, when they learn to deal with other people and meet different people and people from different classes, it will change their heart. They will know that, hey, you know what? We're all equal. We're not equal in ability, but we are all equal under the eyes of the Lord. You know what I mean? Does that make sense? But that's the truth. And we have to understand that, because equality is a myth, but being equally loved is not a myth, if that makes sense. You know what I mean?
See, that's right there. That's the kicker. And that's why God doesn't care about what race you are, right? It's funny how what did you just say? It was, everybody wants to be equally loved, but you can't have equality. But here's the thing, and I think with capitalism, right, when we think about how it pertains to growth and development for a lot of these minority communities, I was just telling this on a live stream, but people need to understand that if everything was equal, things wouldn't be fair. But if everything was fair, things wouldn't be equal. But here's the thing, we don't want equality. The person who wins first place and the person who gets last place, that's fairness. That's not equality. And you can't have equality when everyone's different. You just can't. But that's the beautiful thing about it, is that capitalism in its purest format, or Christianity, whatever you want to call it, is fairness. True fairness without equality. It's okay if you're not equal. I'm not equal to you, because what the hell does that mean? Like, equal worth as a person, equal in my efforts. Like, somebody who's more accomplished than me, who's younger than me, we're not equal. It doesn't mean one's better than the other, but that's what people need to understand. And whenever I hear a lot of these people come together, we got to make things equal. No, we don't. If you have a man and you have a woman, they're not equal. If you have a black man and an Asian man, they're not equal. It doesn't mean one's better than the other. They're just not equal. Equal means that they're the same. Equal means equal is is like, see, here's another thing with the language. Equality means the same. It means this equals this, as in there's no difference. But where's the fun in that? Look at the world around us. Everyone's different. So when people, I don't know how people can live in a world when they talk about politics and go, well, everybody's different, therefore there will never be equality. But you can have fairness, but you won't have equality. You can't have both. This is not, we're not all clones. And that's the solution. I think if people accepted the fact that, you know what, I was born in a less than fortunate position, but some of these people, once they come through it, they like the fact that they started off on a rough note. Like you, it's like, so what if we don't start off equal? That's why you get better. Here's the thing. If equality was everything, why do we have sports games? Why do people still even compete? Because there's going to be a winner and a loser. Are they equal? No. So, but there's fairness. What I think people want is a level, and even saying a level playing field, I'm going to stop saying that. You know why? Because here's the deal. There are just some men and some women out there that are more beautiful than you. Deal with it. They're just gonna but hey, it doesn't mean that you can't make it out there. It means you're probably just gonna have to work harder than them, or maybe you've got things about yourself that's better than them. That's the bottom line. So after hearing everything, I'm just like, I'm gonna stop saying equality. You know why? Because if I make more money than somebody else, I'm glad it's not equal, but it's fair.
Yeah,
that's the bottom line.
I'm not kidding you. I'm gonna start saying that too. It's like, you know,
I don't want equality. I just want fairness. That's what I want. Yeah, fairness, not equality. Forget it. Don't get. You know, it's like. And here's the thing. You know how when we talked about in an earlier episode about video games, if everyone was equal, video games wouldn't be fun. And that's why video games is like socialism. Is because I think that when you get feedback and you constantly want to play to get better and better and better, already that means one person is excelling in certain thing, whether it's a skill or whatnot, the score, and another person isn't. So I think people need to ask, and this is funny because this is basic. This is not revolutionary or groundbreaking. This is just about defining what your values are and what you want. I'm telling people, you don't want equality. Do I want to be equal with everybody else? No, but I want the same opportunity, but I don't want to be equal because I want to win. I want to be better than these 10 people. And I think it's human nature to want to be better. And that's okay. That's how innovation happens. That's how things get built. That's how amazing works of art and engineering and science happens, is when there's no equality. Because, dude, if that were the case, nobody would work. And I think that's what they want, and that goes against the Bible, because you were put here to work.
But that's another reason why I want reparations, because I know a good 80% of them are going to blow that cash. They're going to just blow that cash, and then they'll be broke, and then they'll be forced to honestly work. Because once you take out all those safety nets, they are forced to focus.
Yeah.
And that's what happens. A good 20% of them are going to use that money, do some good stuff. But the 80%, I guarantee you, they're going to give that money right back. It's just like that Dave Chappelle skit, It's they're going to give that money right back to the white guys. But on that note, oh man, like I swear to God.
I mean, here's the thing: if I hear equality in law or politics again, it's fundamentally flawed. No one's equal. Yep. Men and women are not equal. A white man and an Asian guy is not equal. And here's the thing, and we've talked about this before. Equality does not mean inferior, superior. It just means not equal, as in not the same. No, like obviously, we're different, so we're not equal. But so what? Stop trying to think like, oh, this guy's got more. No, you're better. You have your pluses and minuses just like I do. Maybe you're better at this thing, but I'm probably better at this thing. Maybe you look better doing this. Maybe, it's like it's and it's infinite. That's the thing too about people.
It's funny because
it's infinite.
one of the counselor's clients actually said the same thing today too. It's like, hey, look, we all have our strengths, we all have our weaknesses.
Yeah.
And,
so how can we be equal?
It reminded me of that.
And the thing is, have you ever noticed that in the best ecosystems, when everybody's not equal and they have their own strengths and weaknesses, that's how they complement each other. That's how we're meant to live. You're meant to live like, bro, I suck at doing this. That's why I hire somebody else to do it. What does that do? It gives him a job, but it also gives him the opportunity to excel in what he's good at. That's the solution.
I'll give you a good one too. We are not equal to a tree, but we need trees to breathe air. You know what I mean? The tree provides oxygen.
Yeah.
Their waste is our food.
And the big thing that divides people is men and women are not equal, but you know what? They need each other. They do.
Exactly. No, we feel like a puzzle piece. It's the truth. So,
See, that's really to take it back to everything. Because when people can sit here and talk about, well, we need this, we need this. No. What people need to come to terms with, and when I say come to terms with and have humility and admit, is I know I am not equal to a lot of people. There's just going to be some people where, hey, they look better than me. They're taller than me. They're 6'5". They got the first round of the NBA draft. I'm 5'2". I'm never going to be an NBA player. That's just life. That's just life. And here's the thing too. If the Black community accepted that 100%, all of them would work harder than any other class of people. I'm serious. After hearing that, if they truly accepted that, you know what I mean? They would excel.
They won't accept it because they're progressives. They won't.
Yeah.
No, but it's the truth. That is, because the thing is, like, progressive ideology is a very, very damning type of philosophy, because it really
it puts you back in bondage. God sets you.
It caters to the carnal mind. It caters to it. It tells you, hey, it's okay to act out on your carnal desires because you are God. That's what progressive ideology teaches you. So when you watch those movies with monkeys acting all crazy, like I've seen like monkeys rip the genitals off of other chimpanzees. It's crazy. But that's how progressive ideology wants you to believe. They want you to believe you are a monkey, but just a little bit smarter. And that's a dangerous way to live. But again, like if you ever watch monkeys live, they only care about what we would consider the carnal mind.
Well, because they're animals and we're not animals, and people need to understand that too. And people are like, well, you know what? Other animals breed with other animals of the same sex, and I'm like, yeah, we're not animals. We're not animals.
Well, no, evolution says we are. No, we're not. We are the guardians of all of these people or beings or whatever. We're not like them. And that's the thing. See, because a lot of people because look at vegetarians or vegans. They all, we can't kill. We're all the same. Like, no, we are not like these animals. We are not like a slug or a snail. I mean, I don't like to kill things, but it doesn't mean I believe I'm like them. You know what I mean? One has nothing to do with the other. So, progressive ideology really does warp the way people think into believing that they have to satisfy every single nasty thought that they got. And not just nasty sexually, but, just nasty, like people, doing snot rockets or just gross habits, you know what I mean? Because they don't consider other people. Why? Yeah. Because they don't even, that's what makes people poop in the streets is, they don't love themselves. They don't consider others because they don't even consider themselves. They have no shame. They have none of that. Think about it. How do people believe that everything should be equal? Because they have no shame. They have forget about humility. They don't even have any sense of pride to work hard a little bit, because too much pride is obviously bad, but a little bit of pride is something. When you love yourself, you have like a little sense of pride, self-worth. Yeah. But these guys have no self-worth, that they think it's okay to just shoot up drugs in the streets. Why? Because they feel good. And part of feeling good, I got to go to the bathroom, go on the streets. People can see it. They don't care. They have no humility. They have none of that. You know what I mean? And that's the dangers of progressive ideology. You have to have some.
No, for sure. Do you have any final thoughts, though? Because we got to wrap this up. I got to hop on a call, but this was a good
no worries. Those are my final thoughts. What that Black Summit should have been a summit about how to get Black people to stop killing themselves, stop killing babies, stop banging all this dirty stuff. You know what I mean? Trying to be like, keep the family intact. And of course, lastly, education. That's what it should have been about. They didn't talk about none of that stuff. I know they did.
I encourage you to watch it, because let's talk about it more in depth tomorrow and really go into detail as to who's right.
Yeah.
So watch it, and we'll talk about it more so tomorrow. But we got to wrap this up. Thank you guys for listening to us. Check out that Revolt TV Candace Owens thing, and and we'll talk a little bit more about it later this week. But we'll talk soon, guys.